Shalom from the National Council of Young Israel here at our headquarters in Paramus, New Jersey. We are happy to launch our newest program under the guidance of our new board of directors called 4 Minutes of Torah. Each and every week, you'll be introduced to a new Rav within the Young Israel movement who will share with you words of Torah. With that very happy introduction, let us begin.
My name is Dov Lerner. I'm the rabbi at the Young Israel of Jamaica States, and it is a pleasure to have the opportunity to share some thoughts with you today. Now, as we turn to Parshas Noach, a millennia has passed since paradise was lost, and the cost of that loss could not be more clear. No longer in a state of euphoric ease, no longer fed by Edenic trees, human beings began to compete for food and resources, and in the face of unfettered economic forces, they descended into a spiral of toxic vice. V'tishachet ha'aretz, the world was wrecked. Lifnei Elokim, before God, v'timalei ha'aretz chamas, and the earth was filled with violence. Avarice and greed were the decadent weeds that splintered the concrete of primordial morality, and so entrenched and despicable, so indigenous and inextricable had this corruption become, that drowning it out with a deluge of rain and sulfur was deemed the only cure. So a single man, together with his family, were chosen to carve and craft an ark that would save and protect the innocent. And along with gopher wood and presumably nails, Noah is instructed as part of the architectonics of refuge to include a very specific but highly ambiguous object. Tzohar, ta'aseh lateva, make a tzohar for the ark. And this is my question. What on earth does tzohar mean? What is Noach asked to bring into the ark? Because nowhere else in Tanakh is this noun deployed, so the commentators are forced to employ their speculation and pull at philological straws. And while there are a range of options, we are left with two primary candidates. The origin of Tzohar being Tzoharayim, speaking to a window, bringing in the light, or Zohar, that it relates to a glistening, and it refers to a glowing jewel. Now, having a window in an ark seems rather sensible, and we know that Noach had a window because later he uses it to dispatch avian detectives to see if the waters had receded. So what on earth would possess a commentator to suggest that Noach was directed not to carve a window, but to forge an enchanted gem, a tzohar? And there are three answers I'd like to share with you very briefly today. One that is organized by meteorological logic, another by architectural logic, and the third by moral logic. And we begin with the Chizkuni, the French exegete and commentator, who suggests that it cannot possibly mean a window, that Tzohar cannot be an opening to the outside world, Shahari lo shimshu amazalot leheja kol yamei hamabel, because the world was in a grip of an inimitable storm, enveloped in darkness, engulfed by mist and fog and vapor, and a window would serve literally no purpose. So it must be on this meteorological logic that Noach was asked to form a gem that glowed. The second option takes us to architectural logic and the thought of the Torah Tamima. And for him, lo yitachein, it is impossible to conceive, shelabinyan gadol kateva, that the ark, being of the size that it was, 3 stories high, yedai chalon echad, would be lit with a single window. It was hundreds of feet long, full of partitions and stalls and compartments. A window would be as useful for illumination as it would in the midst of a catastrophic storm. So we've seen the architectural logic, we've seen the meteorological logic, and we conclude with the Torah Tamima again, where he provides us another answer using moral logic. He says, we cannot imagine that God instructed Noach to build a window because the state of devastation generates a moral obligation to intervene and it would be unconscionable for God to give Noach a literal window into the suffering of humanity if there was nothing that he could do to alleviate their pain. Lo yired hana'aseh b'chutz. It's impossible that God would show Noach what was happening outside, b'mapalat harisha'im, with the destruction of the wicked, eich hem nitba'im, how they were all drowning. And while the arguments for meteorology and physics are compelling in their own way, they are largely academic in that they pertain to the contingencies of Noach's particular predicament all those centuries ago, whether it was that his boat was too big or the sky was too dark. But the third reading, the moral logic, ripples through history and speaks to our predicament today. It offers a pivotal biblical ethic that crystallizes into a single phrase, that if we see something that needs doing, we have a responsibility to do it. So let us all, going forward from this Parsha Noach, as we continue to face a time of deep challenge, try to open our eyes, open our blinds, and open our minds, and when we see something that needs doing to ease people's pain or heal the world, let us all try to do it. I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom and a Shavua Tov.